And our next guest is Cora Gold.
Hey Donald, how are you doing?
Bert Monro from Cora Gold. We're off to a good start, and I know you've just put out news, so it doesn't get much better than that. Let me just do a brief introduction for you. Cora Gold is an AIM-listed gold company focused on two well-established gold regions, Mali and its next-door neighbour Senegal in West Africa. Cora's primary focus has been on further developing the highly prospective Sanankoro Gold discovery in southern Mali. That was until yesterday, of course, when they announced a new drilling program near Hummingbird's Yanfolila gold mine. Cora have signed a $21 million term sheet to fully fund the development of Sanankoro, and that's dependent on completing a definitive feasibility study by the end of 2021. Bert Monro is here with us tonight. He's the CEO. Welcome, Bert.
Very well done on all the pronunciations, Donald. Good to hear you saying it so well. Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening in this evening and being here. It's great to be able to present to you all. Really exciting time for Cora, as Donald said. I actually just got back from Mali this weekend. I was there for the last week, so it's been great to get out to site. It's been too long, really, and it's been great to see all the team. So let me just share screen. Let me know if you can see that all right, Donald.
Yes, that's lovely. Thank you. Well done.
Perfect. So let me just take you through, obviously, a bit of background to Cora, but just to kick you off, obviously, as Donald said, I'm Bert Monro, I'm the CEO. I started in January of this year as CEO. I spent the previous 11 years of my career at Hummingbird Resources. I was with Hummingbird through both being private to public, making the formally announced discovery in Liberia, and through the acquisition and development of Yanfolila into production. So very much West African focused, very much focused taking exploration projects through into production. Cora Gold is a fantastic company. It's got a great set of permits. It's got over 1,100 square kilometers of ground in West Africa, predominantly in Mali, but also in Senegal. We've got our primary project, Sanankoro, significant gold discovery, which I'll talk a lot more about later, but it's got lots of nice deep oxide material, which is free digging with high recoveries, which should make mining amenable and cost effective. We've got a great team which has been together far longer than I have been at the company. They've been together as a team making discoveries in West Africa for a number of decades now. And the scoping study itself has got a very high return, high IRR, 107% IRR at a $1,500 gold price. So we feel we're well set and in a great place. Our cash position is $5 million in the bank as we stand, so extremely well financed to deliver a very large drill program, which has just been commencing over the last few weeks. And obviously, come the end of next year, assuming we deliver what we plan to do, a positive feasibility study, we have the funding lined up based on our scoping study economics. So I think it's worth talking about that a little bit. It's pretty rare for a junior at our stage to have essentially a fully financed solution in place this early with a very strong partner. Lionhead is a family office investment fund. It's linked to the Quirk family, our largest shareholder. The Quirks are a multi-generational African mining family. They were the largest shareholders in Lionel, which sold out for over $6 billion to Norilsk, and obviously been involved in a number of other successful ventures. So I think there are lots of juniors out there with good assets and exciting projects, but I think finding juniors who have those good assets as well as funding and the shareholders in place already is obviously an exciting position to be in. And I'm very fortunate and very lucky to have been asked to take over as CEO to drive forward the next stage. So our strategy very simply is to try and deliver Sanankoro into production as quickly as possible fundamentally. Sanankoro, we believe, is a straightforward project. As I mentioned, it's got a nice deep oxide profile. It's up to 100 meters of oxide depth, so free digging material. We believe it will lend itself to a very straightforward processing route with high recoveries, low strip ratio, which should lead us to high margin gold production, and also importantly, hopefully low capital cost to build it. Additionally, as a secondary strategy, we've got a large land package in amongst some big mines and big operating mines. So we also carry out continuous ongoing regional exploration in the hope of making a big discovery, which could be transformational. Listening to our last presentation, we heard Paul talking about the value of making a discovery. So I think it's important for us to not only concentrate on delivering Sanankoro, which is our bread and butter, but I think leaving that optionality, leaving that option value of going out there and drilling holes in new permits in new areas particularly near to mines in prolific gold belts, gives us the opportunity to, to make significant advances in that side as well. A little bit on the team, I think importantly on this slide, I would just highlight Norm Bailey. I just brought him in as our head of exploration to replace John Forster, who was the outgoing CEO before me and then head of exploration as well. Norm's been involved in over 30 million ounces of discovery and development in West Africa in the last 30 years. I mean, that is a massive achievement. He was involved with Redback through Chirano and Tasiast, 20 million ounces there. And more recently, he's been working in Sudan, and he's been with Centamin for the last 3 years. So Norm is a great asset. He's a great hire. I've just been with him in Mali the last week. He flew out and is spending 2 months straight on the ground, driving the drill rig and really getting on top of all the programs. So it's great to have him on board, and obviously supported by many other experienced guys. Siaka Kumar, our country director's been with the company since its inception in 2012. He worked with the previous management team, John Forster and Craig Banfield, in their previous companies as well. He speaks 4 languages, was trained in Russia, and is a Malian national. So a great guy to have as our country manager in country. This is an overview of our land package. On the left-hand side of your page, you can see the Kenyeba Window, West Mali projects. You've got 4 permits there down the Mali-Senegal border. This arguably is the most prolific gold belt in West Africa, or even in Africa at the moment. You can see the likes of Sadiola very close to our permits. You obviously go down the Mako mine, obviously bought by Resolute off Cora Gold recently. So we are, in terms of postcode, we're in a great postcode. We started drilling Medina Full Bay earlier this year. Unfortunately, due to COVID, that was paused, that drilling program. We're hoping to start drilling again relatively soon. We opened up the field camp again very recently, and doing further field work. On the right hand side of your page, this is our main focus. In the middle of the permits block there, you can see the Sanankoro block of permits. It's made up of 5 permits, including Sanankoro as one of them. Obviously, directly to our west, you can see the Kabada asset, which is owned by a group called African Gold Group, a TSX listed company. And then obviously directly to our south, you've got Yanfolila, obviously owned by Hummingbird Resources, who are one of our shareholders, and obviously my previous employer. I'm now going to dig into, for a few slides, the Sanankoro project, and then obviously step away and go on some of our regional projects. So this is just zooming in a little bit on Sanankoro and the 5 permits, highlighting a lot of things I've been mentioning already, close to 400 square kilometers of ground, up to 100 meters depths of oxidization. SRK, obviously a well-renowned resource company, have given us an exploration target of 1 to 2 million ounces of gold, limited to a vertical depth of 100 meters. Just to put that in context, we've drilled mineralization down to depths of 170 meters to date. So that SRK exploration target is by no means the total potential gold discovery there. That's just limited to 100 meters. Of that 1 to 2 million ounces, we brought 260,000 ounces into inferred resources, on which we did our scoping study on, and obviously over the next 6 months are looking to expand that significantly. Quick overview on our scoping study. We'll get into more details on the next page. As you can see, at a $1,500 gold price, so a fair bit below where we are today, extremely high IRR, a nice low capex, generating good free cash flow generation. I think it's worth pointing, one of the benefits of an oxide operation is ultimately your sustaining capital should remain lower. I think we've seen it all in the past. You have companies which are relatively EBITDA rich, but they appear to be very cash poor because a lot of their money goes into reinvesting in sustaining capital. So one of the benefits we're hoping for with an oxide operation like this is that we can drive, I guess, true free cash flow into the business. Obviously, significant shareholders and directors and management own a large chunk of this business. So we are very focused on shareholder return. Into a little bit more detail on the scoping study itself. I think probably useful to highlight here from a defensive perspective, if you go down to a $1,300 gold price, which is close to 500 bucks or so away from where we are now per ounce, you're still looking at a 60% IRR project. So I think in anyone's normal estimation, an extremely high return. As you say, I guess a few pictures there as well. You can see from us operating, nice pictures of the drill rig and in some of the old historical artisanal pits where you can see this oxide material Just to say, our resource statements have been depleted to 15 meters, so it takes into account that top chunk which has been taken out by artisanal miners, which are pretty good exploration geos to help us find even more gold. This is a zoom in on our permit area. The red blobs are essentially the resources, and that's essentially limited by drilling. So at the moment we are expecting to be able to join up a lot of those red dots and blobs and continue the growth of the resources. I think it's important to say we've literally drilled less than 20% of the surface mineralization to date, and we've also ended a significant number of our holes in mineralization. So not only do we expect to increase our resources at depth, but we're also expecting to find, significant structural extensions to our existing resources as well. So plenty of upside from where we're at now, which we're obviously looking to exploit over the coming months. I don't want to get too technical right now, and I guess a bit like Paul, I'm not a geologist by background, although I guess having lived and worked in West Africa with Hummingbird and now Cora for 11, 12 years, you get to learn a little bit. But I think what you can see here are just pulling out a few drill holes. You've got some really good grade and some really good widths of mineralization as well. At Salin in particular, 46 meters at 4.5 grams a ton from 50 meters of depth, and 70 meters at 5 grams a ton. Those are really good drill holes, frankly. What you want is nice wide widths of mineralization as near to surface as possible, frankly, which means that you can frankly dig it up cheaper and get to it more quickly. So that's what I want to see more of as we drill further, is nice big wide mineralization and some decent grade as near to surface as possible. So fingers crossed for a lot more of that to come with future drilling programs. Current timeline, it's pretty aggressive, which we're pleased about. We started our ESIA early this year on the basis that we're looking to really fast track this project. We brought out the scoping study in Q1. We've been drilling and we're looking to complete a feasibility study by the end of next year. So in terms of keeping that timeline, we need to be hitting the ground running with drilling. We kicked off a program at Dako and obviously recently at Tegan as well, which has been announced, looking to be drilling right through pretty hard till April time next year, and then hopefully we're bringing out an updated resource statement in the middle of next year, and then obviously following up with a feasibility study as well. Been meeting with relevant consultants and varying engineering firms and other people to make sure we're right on track with that, but hoping to be in construction of the mine in 2022, following completion of the feasibility study with permitting and financing in place. Donald mentioned it and I talked about it briefly, but I think it's significant to cover off again the financing package we put in place with Lionhead. This is due to kick in on completion of a feasibility study at the end of next year. And on the basis of our scoping study economics and capital requirement, it would fully finance the project. Essentially half debt, half equity. The convertible loan note is at a 30% premium to the equity, and the debt is at a flat 10% interest rate. So very competitive financing. I think when you look at single asset juniors in Africa, debt's probably being priced somewhere in the sort of mid-teens. So this is a very positive financing package put in place with a group linked with our major shareholders. So they have a vested interest in their own holding doing well. So really pleased to have this partnership and looking forward to helping us deliver the project in the future. Moving away from Sanankoro, so I'm just looking at my clock there to see how long I've been going on for. Moving away from Sanankoro onto the Yanfolila area. This is where we've just commenced drilling yesterday. We just commenced drilling on the Tegan permit, and obviously then looking to move down further south and drill Tekaladugu and Farah Saba as well. We're essentially created a bit of a ring of permits around the Yanfolila gold mine. I think the really exciting thing about this is, I guess, twofold. One, you've got existing discoveries which are significant, which we're looking to be following up on. And I think secondly, when you have such proximity to an operating gold mine, any discovery is increased its potential by that. I think we all know that building mines is an expensive business, and ultimately if you've got good discoveries near an existing mine, particularly if the mine's in operation, and obviously all mines have a limited mine life to a degree, that could increase the value of any discovery you make. And also if you were to make a slightly smaller discovery, which may not be economic on a standalone basis, it increases the chances of its economic benefit. So for me, it's great to get the drill rig going again down there and to get kicking on with drilling. And just to highlight, yeah, I mean, Tekladugu is within 8 kilometers of the Yanfolila gold plant. It's actually within 2 kilometers of the mine infrastructure. So it's extremely close to Yanfolila. So Kenya-Bawindo, West Mali and Senegal, right on the border. As I mentioned, we were drilling Medina Fulbe earlier this year. Unfortunately, had to pause that because of COVID. Looking to get back now, we've just reopened the field camp. What we've had at Medina Fulbe today is some nice big wide chunks of mineralization from near surface. The grade's been a little bit lower than we would have hoped so far, but it's a big size permit. Medina Fulbe is 250 square kilometers, and we've only drilled 4 or 5 holes, so nothing really. So we're great to see a mineralized structure there. We're in amongst some significant major gold mines for Africa. So we are right in the right location, and our team's got great experience of making discoveries. Some of our team were involved in the Mako discovery back before it was owned by Toro. So they really know this area and are looking to get stuck right back into it. Quick overview of Mali and Senegal. I think they're both extremely prospective regions, countries in the region. They've had commercial gold mining industries for over 25, 30 years. That's great for a number of reasons. You've got a really skilled local workforce. So we were, touch wood, unaffected by COVID, as all of our employees are Malian, bar Norm Bailey, who's out on site now. So you've got a team on the ground who can run operations without the need to have lots of expats. In terms of infrastructure, power, roads, driving to our site at Sanankoro, you're on a tarmac road to within an hour of site. So relatively easy to get to, which is great, and obviously established mining codes and other things. So I think it's fair to say, whilst the southern part of Mali where we're based has been obviously safe, I think there's obviously there has been some turmoil in the very north of Mali, but it's well over 1,000 kilometers from us. And I think it's just worth noting that obviously no operating gold mine has lost a day's production for any issues, civil unrest or such worse things in the last 25 years in Mali. So for us, we're happy with where we're located in very prolific regions, and that they're great countries to be operating in. Community development is extremely important. I probably won't dwell on it for long in this presentation, but welcome to take any phone calls from people in the coming days if they want to speak more about it. It's extremely important to operate in a best practice as you can, and we've engaged predominantly around healthcare, education, and alternative livelihoods to date. Just catching up with the team last week on site about some of the projects we're doing. Market gardens, some small for-profit businesses we've helped them set up, as well as other things around healthcare as well. So it's great to see the work we're doing on the ground, and it's great to have good local communities to be working in and amongst. Quick overview, obviously, as you know, AIM-listed company, listed back towards the end of 2017. I think a very strong share register, tightly held. The Quirk family, Lord Farmer is a co-founder of Redkite, which is a mine finance and commodity trading business, and obviously Hummingbird up there as well. So you've got a very tight register. Directors hold around 8% of the business. So again, like Power Metal, strong director holdings. So I think on this basis, we're well set up. The shareholders have been supported when we have had to raise money, and obviously some of the shareholders are behind the term sheets looking to finance us in the future. But always keen to grow the share register and meet new shareholders. So hopefully a few of you might be interested to join the share register after this evening, and obviously always open to take calls or emails from anyone if you've got any questions. Just last couple of slides here. Look, we feel we've got huge amounts of upside. I'm looking forward to over obviously tonight and obviously in the coming weeks getting out there and then telling everyone about my site visit and updating existing holders and speaking to plenty of people about what's been going on the ground, because we're starting to make some really good strides, and we think there's a huge amount of upside from where we're sat today. And just finally, look, I've talked about it already, so I'll just overview it. Sanankoro is our major project. It's got a great high return project, even at a more conservative gold price than we're at now. We've got a large footprint, which gives us great opportunity to make big discoveries in a highly prospective region. And significantly, we've got a great cash position, $5 million in the bank, and a $21 million funding term sheet to help us deliver the Sanankoro project on completion of a feasibility study. We feel a really strong team on the ground delivering the work. So we feel we're in a really good place, well set up to drive the company forward with the projects we've got. So thanks very much for listening, guys, and I'll look forward to taking any questions.
Okay, Bert, Well done you. That was very interesting. You've already answered the why Yanfolila question which has come in, but how much will the Yanfolila drilling program cost? It has already begun, and what's the strategic thinking behind it? Why not simply focus on Sanankoro, which you know is highly prospective?
Well, I think I guess in terms of the drilling program, it's about a 5,000 meter program once we've gone through the various permits. In terms of our regional exploration budget, we've given it around $500,000 to be drilled over the course of the next 6 months. So that's covering both the Yanfolila area, but it's also covering Medina Fulbe as well. These holes are relatively shallow initially, and they're also into soft oxide, so the rate you get is pretty affordable. So we're looking to be drilling, looking to drill out Medina Fulbe as well as the Yanfolila area and other regional exploration at an earlier stage pre-drilling for under $500,000. In terms of the strategy of why we're doing it, I mean, I think ultimately it's an important facet of Cora. We are an exploration business. We aren't just a project development business. I think, as we've seen, a single exploration hole can completely transform a company. I mean, one exploration hole could make your share price move by an absolute magnitude if it was an absolute amazing hole. And I think to do our portfolio justice, you need to get boots on the ground and get out there and explore. Obviously, we have got a very strong cash position at the moment and feel comfortable in engaging and doing that work, and hopefully giving our shareholders that optionality and that opportunity to make new discoveries and push forward in that way, as well as carry on and do all the necessary work at Sanankoro. And I think the final part about obviously Hummingbird and Yanfolila, I mean, ultimately it's a strategic positioning. Those permits, they're very close to an operating mine. So it's always useful. I mean, you've seen historically it going well. I mean, there was a company called Borimium, for example, which then turned into Mali Lithium, and it's now called Farfinch. And they had a permit which was around the Morilla mine, and they found a very small resource, but ultimately got a very good toll treatment deal with it, and actually ended up self-funding a huge amount of their exploration work and even feasibility studies on one of their other projects. So I think relatively modest investment could give us a great reward and a great return on money.
And where does the funding come from that relatively modest investment?
Well, our existing cash, sorry. So I mean, our cash of $5 million in the bank. So that was, I mean, ultimately we had a fundraise earlier in the year, back in March time. Then ultimately we also had some warrants outstanding, which we now no longer have any warrants outstanding, but we had some warrants which were in the money and were cashed in through August and September of this year. So that's why we have 5 million in the bank.
Okay. In terms of management stretch, the classic, small AIM listed company, you're trying to deliver the Sanankoro feasibility study, which without which you don't get your term sheet funding of $21 million. So, might you be overstretching yourself?
I mean, obviously, in terms of trying to manage regional programs as well as Sanankoro, or in terms of my time?
Well, in terms of everybody's time. At the end of the day, it's a relatively small team, and you're adding more and more work into it.
I guess it's worth mentioning. I mean, ultimately, we were quite COVID compliant before COVID happened. We've got no head office in the UK, which is great from an overhead perspective. There's myself and a CFO. We have a head of exploration who's now predominantly based at site. Within Mali, we've got a team of 12 geologists. They're allocated by project. So we've always had a regional team. It's made up of a senior geologist and a couple of junior geos. So essentially, you've got a regional exploration team which manages those programs, and they're essentially siloed off Sanankoro. So 80–90% of our team is focused at Sanankoro, and that is the focus of really all of our work. The drilling is contracted out to external drilling companies, and essentially you have an isolated unit which travels around and manages these regional programs. So they're essentially a separate silo. So I don't see there being any conflict or any distraction, is a pretty better expression to use there. But obviously it's obviously worth noting, I've brought in some additional help. As we've moved Sanankoro forward, you might have seen on the contacts page, Russell Bradford was there as an advisor. He's a very experienced mine builder in Africa. So he's been helping advise me and support me in terms of moving the project from an exploration business into a development business, as we're looking to do. I've also got a couple of other guys in the background who I know from my Hummingbird days who have been helping various aspects of specific bits, whether it's the environmental and social element, which is obviously a specific skill set and such like. So no, I feel we're well set up, and we've got the team to deliver what we need to.
Okay, that was a good answer. Paul Sapsford asks, Bert, an environmental question. Once any open mine exploration or exploitation is complete, what plans do you have to repair or recover the land?
I mean, that will all obviously come in as part of our environmental permit, which we'll need to get alongside a mining permit. So currently we've engaged Digby Wells, so an international organisation who's currently doing our environmental social impact assessment. Part of that will be building a framework for rehabilitation at the end of the mine life, or even during the mine life and the end of the mine life. Ultimately, for different areas of the mine, it comes in different ways. Obviously, there's reforestation which needs to go on. There's pit rehabilitation which needs to go on. So it's all interlinked. Ultimately, for me, it's actually really interesting, and a part I find fascinating about this business. I think people often say what's great about being in the mining world. And I think you get to go to amazing places in the world. You get to work with lots of interesting people. It's so multifaceted. And I think how the environment and the social element of this industry engages with the mine itself is massively important. I spend quite a lot of time on it. I certainly had, I had a 2-hour call on it today, for example, with the team engaging around the social and environmental side of things. So, but obviously it will all come out as part of that environmental permit and out of that environmental report over the course of next year, really.
Okay, let me ask you a final question here. How do you think your all-in cost of production, the gentleman says $950 an ounce, compares with other locations, Australia, Asia, Americas, etc.?
To be honest, I was actually pretty disappointed with our all-in cost of production. I think, and I'll be looking to improve it. I think the nature of a scoping study.
How can you improve it? That was one of my other questions. How can you improve your all-in production costs?
So
and extend the mine life at Sanankoro.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the conservatism which is in our scoping study, which I would be looking to move forward, is the pit slopes. So the pit slopes in my mind are very shallow. If you look at some mines near us, they're mining at 40-degree pit slopes. Our scoping study is estimating 34-degree pit slopes. So as you increase your pit slopes, you reduce the amount of waste you need to move. So our strip ratio is currently forecast to be 5.5 to 6 to 1 strip ratio. So 5.5 to 6 bits of waste to every bit of ore. If you tighten it up to 40-degree pit slopes, it would probably reduce to somewhere around 4 to 1. So you'd reduce the amount of waste you're moving, reduce your mining cost. Mining costs are normally the most significant single operating cost. So my hope would be through geotechnical test work, to prove that we could mine like similar mines in the region at a steeper pit slope, steeper than 34 degrees and hopefully up towards 40 degrees. The other one is, as you say, scale. At the moment, the mine life is relatively short. As you can show a longer mine life, you get the benefit of the economies of scale, whether it's the cost of power being spread over a longer period of time, other factors around that. So for me, that's a big area we can improve on, and I hope we can improve. I think to answer the first part of the gentleman's question, the global average all-in sustaining cost for the gold mining sector is around $1,000 to $1,050 an ounce, is my understanding. But obviously, that takes into account probably older mines, which are much deeper, where it's a higher cost. For us, we're mining shallow oxides. We should have a really low all-in sustaining cost, because the mining contractor should be giving you a really good rate, because you're digging up ore from surface and it's free digging. You don't have to blast it. It's light, it should be easy. So that's a big area I'm going to be focusing on.
If I could quickly interject with a question which fits perfectly in from Gladstone Hammond. He asks, what's the cost of producing an ounce of gold in Mali?
Well, it depends. Well, it depends which mine you are. I mean, I think, there are examples. I think Fekola, for example, owned by B2, I think their all-in sustaining cost is around $600 to $650 an ounce. And there are obviously examples of mines which have all-in sustaining costs of over $1,000 an ounce. If we can be below $800, if we can be below $850 to $800 an ounce production, if you're making in this gold price environment $1,000 an ounce margin, and you're doing 50,000 ounces production a year conservatively, you're making a hell of a lot of money, which will be great.
Okay, let me be cheeky and ask you a final question.
Final. How many final questions do you get?
I'm bad. I accept that.
That's all right.
Has the recent change of government in Mali made a difference to you?
I actually met the new minister last week. He is a very nice guy, actually. So I had a great meeting with him. To be honest, you've got your exploration permits, and it hasn't made a difference to us in a sense. I mean, everyone's generally been saying good things about the new government. Hasn't made a big difference to us. For us, the big thing for me will be Q4 next year, when we're delivering a feasibility study, and we'll be looking to convert exploration permits into a mining permit and locking in your 25-year, 10-year mining agreement. So for me, that'll be the big time when we need to engage with the government really, really actively and make sure we're moving forward with the permitting as well as we can.
Bert Monro, thank you very much indeed. You were very patient with us. Thank you so much for sparing the time. And for
Not at all. Thanks a lot for having me. Good to be here, and yeah, hopefully look forward to meeting some of you when we return to some form of normality, hopefully in 2021.
Lots of great questions, not all of whom we managed to get to, despite them being good questions. So apologies to everyone that we didn't quite get to.
Anyone I didn't answer, feel free to email me if you want, or give me a call.
We have literally run out of time there, Bert. Thank you so much. And now we welcome Colin Harrington. Let me introduce you, Colin. Colin is CEO of Zephyr Energy.